Here's the Grim Reaper razor cut mechanical broadhead, and here's the original Grim Reaper razor tip. They differ in that the razor cut has a single cut-on contact blade held in by a set screw, whereas the razor tip has a trocar tip with 3 mini razor blades that are in line with the cutting edges of the trocar tip. Thus, trocar tip and razor blades, we came up with the term troc razor tip. Pulverizes heavy bone and slices like a scalpel. The razor cut has a bullet razor tip. Has a bullet shaped tip with the razor in it, and it penetrates very well and slices through the bone and doesn't hardly curl over at all up here on the top end. They're the same everywhere else. They have the same internal compression spring system, max edge SS blades, really tough. Here is the Grim Reaper razor tip mechanical broadhead. This is the slotted cup. Here's one right here. And here is another slotted cup that's been cut in 2/3. 1/3 of it's been cut away. And what I'm going to do is put this one on this broadhead right here so you can see what's happening internally. Because the Grim Reaper razor tip and the razor cut mechanical broadheads have a very super amazing and unique retention system. There's no rubber bands or O-rings. When you hear that click, now listen real careful. There's actually an internal compression spring in here that provides a whole bunch of unique features that really help the Grim Reaper perform. So watch this. See that blade move? Okay, so now I will take off the cup. Here is the spring. This is the notch ring. This is the pivot ring that holds the blades on. Here's one of the blades. And if you look very carefully right here, there's a gap in the ring, in the pivot ring. And there's an aluminum finger that comes down with that gap seats in. The screwdriver's magnetized. And then this is a slotted cup. It slides up the back end. Okay, now I'll assemble it and show you with a cutaway version of this cup. Right here, there's a cutaway. So when we screw it on, you can see how the shock absorber system works. So, put on this partially sectioned cup. Just put the arrow back on. Screw it together and we'll see exactly what happens inside Grim Reaper Mechanicals. Notice as we're screwing it on, the spring is getting compressed. Okay. So once again, here is the compression spring. Let's move these out of the way. And that top wire is the notch ring. This is the pivot ring, or the blade ring, holds the blade ring. There's a gap in it. You can see real carefully there's a gap, and then there's a little aluminum finger, or we call it a key, that's milled into the ferrule here that sits in between the gap ends of the ring. That way the ring can't rotate left or right and the blades don't come off. Now let's look really careful here how this mechanism works. As the blades open, you'll actually see the spring flex. And there's that snap noise again. So the spring system acts as blade retention, keeps the blades closed, only takes 1 pound force to open each blade. Yet, coming out of any speed bow, any crossbow, the blades won't pop open prematurely because the spring cushions them. At arrow release, instead of the blades wanting to fly open, all that rearward inertia just is driven back and the spring compresses lightly. Also, the spring shock absorber system, allowing these blades to float freely and not have a rigid connection with the ferrule, allows the Grim Reaper mechanical broadheads to have really big entrance holes, and it makes the blades open really fast. In fact, they're the fastest opening mechanicals in the archery industry. And what happens there is when the blade hits the deer hide of a target, as it's opening this way, it can actually move back. So having the ability to move back while it opens gives it more time to open, and that makes it have a bigger entrance hole. Also, a really cool feature about this spring shock absorbing system that the Grim Reaper mechanicals have is it eliminates any what we call side kick or deflection, because what happens on almost every shot is the blades do not open at the same time. You take an angled shot from a tree stand, well, this blade right here is going to hit first and it's going to open before the other two, and so it'll be like boom boom boom, 1 2 3 opening. And what happens there is one blade opens, there's a natural kicking effect. Catches right here and opens. Well, it's pulling this way, it wants to flip the arrow that way. That's what happens with some mechanicals. But with the Grim Reaper mechanicals having the spring in there, since the spring is a lot smaller than the arrow, weighs a lot less, the spring's going to move instead of kicking the arrow. So that one blade opens, the first blade opens on the Grim Reaper mechanicals, instead of doing this, it just keeps going, and the blade opens, it just goes, zooms on through. And then the second blade opens, there's no kick that way, it just goes straight. The third blade opens and it goes straight. So you don't get any deflection, and it hardly causes any energy loss. Now, other mechanicals, as one blade opens first, the arrow get kicked this way, and then the other one opens and it kicks it that way, and the other one opens and it kicks it this way. So there's this like tug of war going on, and most of the time they just keep going straight, but they deplete a lot of energy. But with the Grim Reaper, you don't ever have any of those problems. Never. Watch how that moves. Now the Grim Reaper's mechanicals are super rugged also. This spring may look small and delicate, but it's actually really tough, because inside this cup, right in here, inside, there's actually a shelf cut in. It comes down, and then it goes in, and then it goes down. And it's really small, you can't really see it very well, but it's right in here. And what that does is when these blades move rearward, this silver pivot ring actually hits on that shelf. And so the ring and the blades can only go back so far. And that prevents the spring from getting crushed. So watch, I'll show you. Push back. See right there, the pivot ring actually hit that shelf, and the spring is almost all the way at a solid, but it's not quite, and so it doesn't damage the spring. Another real significant reason why the Grim Reaper razor tip and razor cut mechanical broadheads do not deflect on angled tree stand shots or quartering away shots or any kind of angled shot is the forward end of the mechanical blades are 5/8 of an inch back from the tip of the broadhead. So no matter what angle you're shooting at, the tip always gets in the animal first, and you never have one of the big blades catch and try to kick or deflect it.